Pre-flight systems check. Okay, we've got the green light. Let's taxi out and prepare for takeoff. Hey folks, welcome to Plastic Planes. I'm your host, R.R. Slugger, and I sincerely doubt that the reveal of this series was on anyone's radar. Well, that's not entirely true. A few folks in the know have patiently been waiting years for me to finally get this one off the ground. Channel artist Brett, in particular. I commissioned his work for this series back in 2023. Sorry to keep it under wraps for so long. So, what is Plastic Planes all about? Honestly, the name is pretty self-explanatory. Over the years, the LEGO Group has made hundreds of little plastic airplanes, and I want to talk about a few of them on my channel. There's no particular release window I want to stick to, or formal list or theme I want to draw from. I do, however, know exactly which plastic plane I want to kick the series off with. 3439 Spy Runner. Released in the year 2000, at first glance, the Spy Runner doesn't seem that out of the ordinary compared to its contemporaries. After all, it's an airplane. How unique can it actually be? Well, apparently the answer is plenty, if you know where to look. We're gonna start our journey by examining the box. Longtime fan of the channel, Elena, was kind enough to send me an extra copy of hers for this video. Thanks, Elena. Right off the top, do you notice anything unusual about this packaging? Yeah, it's the words Spy Runner staring us right in the face. Not only is it superimposed in front of the set itself, it also features a unique font and coloration that I've never seen on another LEGO set. This eponymous emphasis is also evident on the set itself, with the letters of Spy Runner emblazoned on the vertical stabilizer, along with the LEGO logo. I swear, other sets have names, the Spy Runner has a brand. So what makes the Spy Runner so special that it deserves all the hullabaloo? To be honest, I wish I knew. I wasn't able to figure out who designed the set, and it seems like it was subject to a sort of limited release. It appeared in a few LEGO Shop at Home catalogs back in the day, with one of them even claiming it was designed specifically for LEGO Club members and not sold in stores. I'm not sure if I personally buy this story or not. The LEGO Group had a pretty steady history at this point of designing airplane-themed sets specifically for airline companies to offer to families during flights. After the promo period ended, the LEGO Group would then try to hawk the leftovers onto club members in these catalogs. That seems to fit the circumstances surrounding the Spy Runner to a T, but what we're missing is some sort of label on the box itself stating as such. I don't know, maybe they're not lying and it's all a huge coincidence. Maybe. Oh, come on, what? It was a gift with purchase back in November of 2000? Those were rare back then. Wait. Was it designed exclusively to be a gift with purchase? If so, we might be looking at one of, if not the first LEGO set designed from the ground up with this purpose in mind. Patient Zero. Despite the reasons for its existence, please take note of the fact that if you didn't have $75 to spend back in November of 2000, the equivalent of nearly $140 today, you still had the option to buy the Spy Runner separately. No mandatory paywall, no artificial scarcity, just saying. Anyways, irrespective of the ways in which you had to acquire it back in the day, what do we actually get within the set itself? Well, the main build is, of course, the Spy Runner. With its jet black fuselage, white wings, and red trim, this model does a lot with very little. I really appreciate how cohesive the Spy Runner looks, despite the high contrast colors typical in older LEGO. This is just solid color blocking all around. The box art shows us a full moon in the background, and the trans dark blue canopy piece carries this moodiness into the set itself. The Spy Runner looks and feels like it's ready for midnight reconnaissance work. Speaking of which, inside the cockpit we find our pilot at the controls, with a large radar screen on this printed tile. Stealth and espionage often go hand in hand, and the Spy Runner seems equipped for both. To either side of the cockpit are a pair of wing-mounted prop engines. Consisting of a meager 4 pieces each, this is simplicity as a strength. Sometimes the right pieces are more effective than more pieces. One detail that I absolutely love is located on the underside of the wings: running lights. If the Spy Runner is really meant for night flying, then it's going to need a way to see the runway on takeoff and landing. On the bottom of the fuselage, we can find the landing gear, 6 wheels total. It's obviously non-retractable, but you can easily remove the parts should you wish to display the set in a more aerodynamic fashion. The final detail I want to discuss sent me down a rabbit hole. Underneath the navigation lights on each wingtip are a pair of bulbous jet engines. Hang on, I thought this was a piston aircraft. What does it need jet engines for? Can it even have both? Well, it turns out it can. Throughout history, there have been a few planes outfitted with both methods of propulsion. Most of the examples I found were bombers, utilizing the extra pep during takeoff and exiting a target zone. The Lockheed P-2V Neptune was the aircraft I found that looked the most visually similar to the Spy Runner, but it was still way too big. In looking up a cross-section of the aircraft, though, it finally clicked. Oh, those aren't the jet engines, those are. I apologize to any aviation enthusiasts watching this who were shouting at their monitors earlier, but you'll have to bear with me. Just like my Orient Expedition series, I'm approaching plastic planes with a readiness to learn, not a previously acquired level of expertise. In hindsight, it makes total sense why you wouldn't mount jet engines that far out from the center of mass. If we wanted to equip jet engines to the Spy Runner, we'd likely want to put them here instead. So if these bulbous shapes at the end of each wingtip aren't jet engines, then what are they? Fuel pods. Again, this makes total sense. A reconnaissance aircraft like this one needs to stay airborne for extended periods of time to complete its assignments. It's a less flashy, but far more practical answer. Now, I know this series is called Plastic Planes, but I think I would sincerely disappoint some folks if I didn't also mention the small ground service vehicle included in the set as well. There isn't a whole lot to it. It's just big enough to get our technician out onto the tarmac without having to huff it. I think the oddest design choice surrounding the vehicle is how this windshield element is utilized. It's positioned far too low to actually be useful as a windshield for the driver, so I think its only real purpose is to provide shaping to the body of the car. I can't help but wonder if the same element in black would have worked better for this. On the back of the box, we can find a single alternate build, cleverly turning our airplane into a dragster on a test track. I really enjoy how the wheels were swapped around for this build, positioning the thicker treads from the ground service vehicle in the rear. Additionally, it's fun to see the minifigure roles reversed, with the pilot in charge of monitoring the test results and the mechanic in charge of driving. It makes the whole set feel more alive to me. And that's about it. Overall, the Spy Runner is a neat little aircraft, and while it isn't the most noteworthy set out there, I think it's a perfect way to kick off plastic planes. Who knows what we'll take to the skies next time. Thanks for watching, everyone. I've been your host, R.R. Slugger, and keep your eyes to the skies.